What if humans could communicate directly with animals for one day? What if, for just one day, humans could understand animals? What if, suddenly, we could hear the words they would say, understand the thoughts that until now were kept in a secret language, inaccessible to our understanding? How would this change our relationship with the natural world? How would the meeting of two consciousnesses, human and animal, mix in a deep communication dance that transcends the barriers between species? Imagine that, upon waking up, you could hear the story of your dog, what he thinks when he sees the postman, how he feels the wind passing through his fur, how he sees the world around him from a completely different point of view, but somehow still similar to yours. He would talk about his day, his joys and frustrations, his perceptions of the house, and you, the human whom he loves so much. And perhaps you would begin to understand that your dog is not just a dependent creature, but a being with its own mind, with desires, fears, and an inner world, until now hidden. We could perhaps ask a cat, the master of independence, what goes on in his mind when he watches us with his penetrating eyes, those dilated pupils, those expressions of detachment. What does he really think about being petted or simply being left alone for a while? Does he like it? Does he feel comfortable? Or is he just tolerating our presence, just as we tolerate the activities of other beings in our world? Now imagine communication with beings even more distant, the birds whose songs and trills are often interpreted as mere music from nature. What if, instead of hearing just a sequence of sounds, we could understand a story? A tale about their long journeys, about what the wind means to them, about how the sky is their home, and how every migration carries an ancestral memory passed down for millions of years. Would the birds' songs be more than simple alarm calls or territorial messages? Would they be true cultural expressions, each song having its own meaning, each tone change an idea shared with other birds across time and space? These questions are not simple, and they provoke deep thinking. What do we really know about the world of animals? For so long, we've seen them as beings on a separate plane, almost alien, with their own needs and desires, but without access to their way of living, of feeling. We can study their behaviors, analyze their reactions, but always from a distance, through the lenses of our own understanding, limited by our biology, by our sensory perceptions. When we talk about an invisible world, the one that lies beyond our understanding, we are referring precisely to this silent communication happening at a level we've never reached. Now imagine if this veil were torn. Imagine that for a single day, the barriers between humans and animals were completely erased, and we could hear their voices, understand their needs, and perhaps even share our thoughts with them. What would they tell us? What would we learn about ourselves by reflecting on how we interact with them and how we perceive the world around us? In the end, perhaps the greatest revelation of this exercise would be the realization that communication, in fact, is not just an exchange of words or sounds. It is the exchange of experiences, of feelings, of understanding. Animals are already communicating with us, but in a way we have not yet captured. They speak to us with their eyes, with their gestures, with their sounds. The way a dog wags its tail, how a cat purrs when cuddling, or how a bird sings at dawn. All these are expressions of their language, translating their emotions and thoughts, but in a way we cannot fully decode. If we could see and hear the animal world the way we see the human world, perhaps the boundaries of empathy would expand. We could better understand the needs of an animal, not just as an instinctual being, but as a being with its own way of perceiving the world, which is as valid as ours. Interaction with animals in this scenario would cease to be a one-sided relationship, where we see ourselves as dominant and them as submissive, to an experience of mutual respect, an exchange of thoughts and feelings. At the same time, this would raise profound ethical questions. By hearing what animals truly think, would we have more responsibility for our actions? Would we be able to understand their pain, their joys, their needs in a more intense way? If we heard what they feel when we are by their side, perhaps we would rethink how we treat animals, how we see them in our cultures, in our industries, in our daily lives. But at the same time, one thought keeps recurring. What would it mean for us humans, who already carry in our minds a complex web of communication, a multitude of words and interpretations, if we were to finally understand the simplest and most sincere feelings of a being who does not share our words? Perhaps in the end, what animals would tell us wouldn't be just a list of wishes or needs, but a reminder of something much deeper about the very nature of communication. The ability to listen to the other without judgment, to understand what is not said, to perceive what is felt. In an increasingly noisy world where words get lost in the pressure of our own existence, animals could teach us the true essence of silence and deep understanding. In this alternate world where communication between humans and animals becomes a reality for one day, would we be ready to listen? Would we be ready to understand without the need for words? Or would we be afraid of the truth that this would reveal about ourselves and the world we share with them? Perhaps the real question isn't what we would say to the animals, but what they would say to us. Because in the end, true communication is an exchange, a bridge between worlds that, apparently, do not touch, but that somehow intertwine in an invisible network. If animals could speak, perhaps we wouldn't need words to understand that what truly matters is what we share with each other, and how the simple act of listening can teach us more than any speech.